Hey guys. So please excuse my lack of makeup and such. I always say that and I need to it's real life. Sometimes we don't wear makeup every day, especially if we're not doing anything fun. So there it is. So today I want to share my labor and delivery story. A lot of you, or a couple of you, have followed along with my pregnancy updates. So I wanted to kind of round out that whole series by talking about Elizabeth, her arrival. So if you watched my videos, I can link the playlist above. Oh, I really want to get this in today, but I hear her starting to cry maybe, so I'm gonna try. So if I come back in a different outfit, it's a different day and I'm trying again. Okay, so if you followed my videos, you know that a couple of days before I went into labor, like active labor, I got my mucous membranes, I'll put that, what the name of it is, and I really thought it was like an optional thing that they would really discuss with you, but it really wasn't. My doctor just asked, are you ready to have the baby? And I was like, well, and I was answering all like, well, I don't know if I'm mentally prepared, and she was like, no, like, do you have diapers, a crib, someone to watch the baby, are you home, that type of stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm ready in that respect. And she was like, okay, and then she just did it. So anyways, so it was a Tuesday night, September 18th, and I was working all the way up until I had the baby, so I had worked that day, and it was like 8:30, and I was like, listen, Sean, I am exhausted, I just want to go to bed. I know it's really early, but I'm tired, I'm really pregnant, whatever, I want to go to bed. So he's like, sure, so he's just walking around doing things, and I'm just laying in bed with like one, all of a sudden she did something, and it was just like, a little bit of a stronger punch or kick than I was used to. And I had been talking to Sean at that time, like I was laying, like reclining in bed, talking to him, and he kind of saw my face, and I was like, he was like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know, a really strong kick or punch. And I kind of had a feeling that maybe it was something more. So I kind of slid out of bed and stood up, and sure enough, my water had broken. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And all this time I'd been thinking like, Sean is going to be like in such a panic and he's not going to know what to do, and I'm going to have to be like, grab my hospital bag and start the car and call my mom and like all this or whatever. And it turns out he is totally on like his game, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And he's like, okay, get changed, I'll grab your bag, I'll start the car, call your mom, call the doc, like do the things you're supposed to do. He's totally calm and excited, and I'm excited, but I'm like losing my mind and totally nervous and like forgetting everything that I had planned to like be prepared for. So anyways, so we call my mom, my grandmom, and everything like that. I call the emergency number for my doctors, and they say, your water broke. You can come on in. You don't have to rush. It's up to you. Depends on how far apart your contractions are, but, you should come in. So, of course, it was like a little after 9 at that point, and I was like, well, everything I read says that like your insurance only covers a certain amount of nights, so if it's close to midnight, I don't know if you ever watched The Office, Pam tried to do that too, like to get the most nights in the hospital you try to wait as long as possible to go in, especially if you're close to midnight, so that you can spend an extra night in the hospital. So it was 9:30, but I hadn't had any contractions up until my water broke, and then I started to get contractions. So we grabbed the bags, started the car, so on our way to the hospital, I had forgotten that they told us we could just go to the emergency room entrance. Instead, we went to the regular parking garage, and we had to keep stopping as we're walking. We had like the car seat, my hospital bag. I guess that was it. It felt like a lot more. Maybe a diaper bag. I don't know. Whatever. And we had to keep stopping so I could like breathe through the contractions, because they started coming, and from the moment I started getting them, they were 3 to 4 minutes apart. Like, it was like no contractions, and then all of a sudden, really close together. So we finally get over there, and my mom is already there, and she's like, what took you so long? And we were like, oh, sorry, we didn't take like the emergency, like we didn't do the regular entrance, we did it the wrong way. Anyways, So I go up and, you know, like register myself, and I'm like, I'm having contractions, I'm having my baby, you know, and she's like, okay, I'm with someone, I'll be with you in a moment. And I'm sitting there like, this is happening, you know? So anyways, so we wait because she's like checking someone else in, or I don't know, doing something else. And I'm like breathing through contractions, and my mom and Sean are just kind of like, is this what it's supposed to be like? Like, should you be in there? So they end up taking me, they put me in triage, and they have to check first to make sure that I am actually in labor, and that it's not like a false alarm before they, you know, put everything through. So we're in triage for a little bit, and they're monitoring me, they're monitoring the baby to make sure that everything's okay and to time the contractions. And they also have to take your blood. So I didn't know this. From the beginning of all my appointments, they said, you know, what do you want as far as birth and such? And I didn't have like a clear, exciting, fancy birth plan. I just knew that I wanted an epidural. I know that I want an epidural. I don't want to feel all of that lovely stuff. I would like an epidural. Anyways, so they asked me again, and I'm like, yes, this should be in my file. Like, I want an epidural. So apparently they have to do a blood test, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but they had to take blood and check my, was it like potassium or platelets? I don't know. They had to check something in my blood before they could like definitely give me an epidural. Or put it on my file that I was definitely getting one. I did not know that in advance, because I would have researched other types of pain management and been like a little bit more knowledgeable about that if I would have thought that there was a possibility that I wasn't going to be able to get it. So again, I'm not sure if that's common or whatever, but anyways, my blood was fine. So we're in triage for like 45 minutes until they're finally like, yes, you're definitely in active labor. I had been like 3 centimeters dilated for like 2 weeks. So they told me I was like 3.5, almost 4 centimeters at this point. And I was definitely having contractions. They were like 2 minutes apart. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's get this on the road. So they finally moved me to another room. I thought I could walk, but I couldn't. So they put me in a wheelchair because, like I said, I didn't have any contractions. And then once I started having them, they were strong. So we get into the room. I knew that I was going to have my husband, Sean, and my mom there. So, we get set up, we go into the room, and I tell them I know, I've seen enough movies and television shows that there's like a finite amount of time for when you can get the epidural. So like, it's on my file, like they took my blood, like I'm ready for this, like give me the epidural. So they're like, okay, we'll call the guy, your blood came back fine, blah, blah, blah. So, so they say he's on his way. Like they leave, they come back, they say he's on his way, they check me, whatever. So, it turns out at my hospital, which I did not know in advance, is that they do not have an anesthesiologist in the hospital in the evenings. He is on call, or they are on call in the evenings. So they had to call him like at his house. I thought he was on like another floor and he was just going to come and do it and go about his business. But no, he was like at his house. So they had to call him and get him to come to the hospital. Meanwhile, I'm like losing my mind. I spent all that time in triage. I was having contractions. Like they knew I wanted an epidural since like months before that when I went for my first appointment and said that's what I wanted. Like I had not changed my mind. Anyways, that is an aspect I'm still a little like not cool with, because I feel like they should have done a better job in that respect. But maybe I should have done my research and known that they didn't have him on staff at night. Whatever. So, I am losing my mind. I am in a lot of pain and I really want the epidural. The nurses are so nice and they keep checking up on me, but I am getting really upset. My mom and Sean are super wonderful and supportive and kind, and they were amazing. I couldn't have asked them to be better. They were really wonderful. Okay, so I am in a lot of pain and I am very upset and I want my epidural. Epidural guy, anesthesiologist, finally comes. Super wonderful. It was uncomfortable with this huge belly to like lean over, but at this point you've no modesty, you don't even care. I didn't even care. The nurse was incredibly supportive, got the epidural. It was so amazing. I was so happy to not be in intense pain anymore. Wow, epidurals are amazing. If you didn't already know that, they're awesome. No regrets there. So I get the epidural, and of course my contractions begin to slow down. Which is apparently just kind of how it goes. We push for quite some time and there's just nothing happening. I'm not feeling like I'm supposed to be pushing. It's not actually appearing to do much. I'm dilated and effaced and all that good stuff. And yeah, just not doing anything. The nurse and doctor at that time, you know, I really did want to have her then with them. Shifts were about to change, and I really liked that nurse, really liked that doctor for my practice. Didn't want to switch necessarily because they were great, but it was that time, and I had, you know, pushed for like an hour or two, and it just wasn't happening. So next shift comes in, and they say, you know, they're like, listen, get some rest. I am feeling fine. The epidural's working amazingly. I can barely even feel the contractions anymore. So I don't even feel an urge to push necessarily. My mom, in and out, dozes a little bit. Sean goes to sleep fine. And I'm just kind of laying there. I don't really go to sleep, but I'm resting, not pushing, which is nice. I'm exhausted because, you know, you're up all night. So hours and hours go by. And finally they're like, we're just doing this. So the doctor comes in, nurses come in, we're going to get you ready. We're going to start pushing. So we start pushing. They say that they can see her head. Like it's in there. It's like getting ready to arrive. So I end up pushing so it's a total of like 4 hours of pushing that I end up doing. And they do tell me to reach down and feel her head, which is crazy. So I do, Sean does, my mom does, they see and such. I have her. Amazing. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. She's perfect. It was incredibly painful. It wasn't until probably like the last half an hour of pushing that I actually felt like I wanted to push. So I don't know how that works. I know that the epidural slowed me down. With the contractions coming as quickly as they were originally, I do think I would have given birth much sooner. It was 12 hours from check-in at the triage until she arrived. So she arrived at 9:30 a.m. On Wednesday morning, and I had checked in at 9:30 p.m. Tuesday night. So it was 12 hours total, about 4 of it spent pushing, and again, like half an hour of it where I actually felt like I wanted to push. She's starting to cry. So she arrives, so exciting, 2nd to 3rd degree tear, getting stitches, beautiful baby, absolutely perfect, wonderful, so excited, everything gets stitched up, she's absolutely gorgeous, sunny side up. She was sunny side up. So apparently that also is a little bit tricky when you have a baby. They're supposed to be face down, she was face up. So she wasn't like smushed or anything. Gorgeous blue eyes, dark hair, just stunning. 6 pounds, 15 ounces. Everything's good. It was really, absolutely, she was beautiful and amazing and wonderful, and she is now. So I can insert some pictures of recently. She is now 10 weeks. So thank you so much for watching and for joining me on this journey, and she's here, and it's amazing. And I'm not sure how soon I'm going to be ready to go through all that again. I had a pretty chill pregnancy, to be honest, but that labor and delivery, man, whew, pushing for 4 hours, not great. Anyways, all right, she's crying, so I'm gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching.